She vanished without a sound. No witnesses, no signs of struggle, just a dressing gown, an empty money box, and a husband begging the world to believe he didn't do it. For 6 years, Tina Satchwell was a name whispered in the streets of County Cork, a beloved woman who vanished without warning. A wife, a daughter, a friend. Some said she ran away. Others said she met someone new. But the truth? It was buried, literally, beneath their home, under the stairs. Today, we're unpacking one of the most haunting cases to ever come out of Ireland, the story of Tina Satchwell. And trust me, what lies beneath is darker than anyone imagined. Let's dive in. The seaside town of Youghal, spelled Youghal, but pronounced Yawl, looks like a postcard. Nestled on Ireland's southern coast in County Cork, it's the kind of place people go to disappear from city noise, not from the world entirely. Back in 1989, two people stood near the old lighthouse there, young, in love, and completely unaware of the nightmare fate had in store. Richard Satchwell, 21, got down on one knee and proposed to his 19-year-old girlfriend, Tina. She said yes. They met years earlier in Richard's hometown of Youghal, near Leicester, England. Tina had moved in next door to her grandmother, the woman who raised her, and that's where she and Richard clicked. By all accounts, Tina was bright, fashion-forward, and confident. And Richard? Quiet, a little awkward, but totally devoted. When they married, they left England behind and started over in Ireland, settling back in Youghal, the very place where they'd gotten engaged. Life wasn't perfect. It rarely is, but it worked. Richard drove trucks. Tina stayed home and managed the household. They made ends meet by selling secondhand clothes at car boot sales. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. They didn't have children, but their pets were everything. 2 dogs, Ruby and Heidi, and Peach, a parrot who Tina treated like her baby. They bought a modest, multi-level terrace house on Grattan Street. Tight on money, but rich in routine. Tina had her fashion, Richard had his routines, and together they scraped by. But behind the curtains, something was unraveling. On March 24th, 2017, Richard walked into the local Garda station and reported his wife missing. He hadn't seen Tina in 4 days. According to him, things had been tense. Peach, the parrot, had recently died, and Tina took it hard. Devastated, really, Richard told police that she hadn't been herself for months. Depressed, withdrawn, their marriage was suffering, and Tina needed space. He said she'd asked him to drop her off in Dungarvan, just 20 minutes away. He left, ran a few errands, returned 2 hours later, and she was gone. The front door was unlocked. Her keys were on the floor. 2 suitcases were missing. But there was no note, no phone, and no goodbye. At first, Richard said he figured she'd taken a walk, maybe gone to clear her head, maybe visited family. He gave her space. But by Friday, when no one had seen or heard from her, his stomach dropped. He checked the money box, their life savings, which he claimed held 26,000 euros in cash. It was empty. "We've been together 28 years, he told reporters. This isn't like her. He went public, pleading for help. He stood outside their home, voice cracking, eyes watering. Tina, come home. Nobody's mad at you. My arms are open. The pets miss you. I miss you." The community rallied. Posters went up. A social media campaign was launched. People genuinely believed Tina had left, but expected her to come back. She loved those dogs. She wouldn't just leave them. And yet, days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Tina Satchwell was still gone. The Gardaí weren't just listening to Richard. They were watching him. Here's what didn't sit right. No CCTV footage ever caught Tina leaving that house. Her bank account? Frozen. Not a single transaction. Her phone? Left behind. Yet Richard claimed she left voluntarily with 26,000 euros in cash. For a woman so devastated by the loss of a parrot, could she really leave her beloved dogs behind? Cold turkey? And then there was the house. In June 2017, Gardaí obtained a warrant and searched the Satchwell home while Richard was away for work. What they found was disturbing. Feces on the floor, a bird cage caked in waste, clothes everywhere, some new, most secondhand, draped in plastic, hanging from every surface. The house wasn't just messy. It felt stopped in time. Forensics scoured every inch, searching for blood, DNA, anything. After 12 hours? Nothing. But they did seize 2 computers. And what was on those computers opened a bizarre new chapter. Emails. Dozens of them. From Richard. Sent to an international monkey rescue. Yes, seriously. For 3 years, Richard had been exchanging messages with a man calling himself Mr. James. He claimed to be arranging the purchase of 2 marmoset monkeys named Terry and Telma. Transactions were made. Money was sent via Western Union. Meanwhile, Richard and Tina's joint account was constantly overdrawn. And this part? Chilling. The last email Richard sent to Mr. James was on March 20th, 2017, the very day Tina vanished. In it, he wrote that if the monkeys didn't arrive soon, his wife was going to leave him. Monkeys. 26,000 euro missing. A house full of clothing racks and dog mess. And a woman, now 6 months missing, who supposedly just walked away. Was it grief? Desperation? Or was it a smokescreen? Then came the suitcases. On July 9th, 2017, months after Tina vanished, Richard spotted something strange at his local Tesco, 2 abandoned suitcases next to the recycling bins. He told the Gardaí. They seized the cases, ran forensic tests, and found nothing. They were empty, or nearly empty. A hairbrush was recovered and sent off for DNA analysis, but it wasn't linked to Tina. Another dead end. Then in spring 2018, a tip came in. Someone reported a man acting suspiciously in Mitchell's Woods, a forested area about 25 miles from Youghal. Over 90 officers, including military personnel, were deployed. They scoured 40 acres. Drones, dogs, cadaver units. They found something, but whatever it was wasn't enough. No Tina. No answers. In the public eye, Richard Satchwell was slowly transforming, from grieving husband to suspect number 1. And the cracks in his story were getting harder to ignore. By 2019, Richard Satchwell wasn't just a grieving husband. He was the centerpiece of mystery the country couldn't look away from. He still gave interviews, still pleaded for Tina to come home. But more and more, he was using these interviews to defend himself. "I'll take a lie detector test," he told one station. "They searched my house, found nothing. I'm innocent." But his words started to waver. He was now saying Tina was unstable, that she had a temper, that she may have had a psychiatric condition, that she'd hit him before. Then came the contradiction. He also said she was his trophy wife. Beautiful, radiant, the love of his life. He called her the most important person in the world, and in the same breath, claimed she had threatened to leave him hundreds of times, that she manipulated him emotionally, that he suffered in silence because he loved her too much to fight back. If I saw something in a shop window she might like, I bought it, he said. She deserved to look good. I like to show her off. But behind closed doors, something else was unraveling. Not just in their marriage, but in the story Richard had spent years crafting. And in 2022, someone new took a closer look. In the summer of 2022, Superintendent and Marie Toomey reopened the case with a fresh perspective. She brought in a specialist, forensic archaeologist, Dr. McCullough, who had consulted on some of the UK and Ireland's most complex homicide cases. Dr. McCullough reviewed the crime scene photos, structural changes in the house, and witness statements. And her conclusion? It was stark. When a spouse is murdered, it usually happens at home. And more often than not, the body is hidden nearby. She focused on one part of the Satchwell home, in particular, the stairway. In photos that looked new, unpainted wood, fresh plasterboard, a hastily built brick wall underneath. She believed that if Tina's remains were anywhere, they were there under those stairs. So in October 2023, Gardaí returned to the house on Grattan Street with a cadaver dog. And this time, the dog froze. Right at the second step, the excavation was delicate. Careful, every layer peeled back like skin from a wound. Under the stairs behind that brick wall, buried 3 feet down, was black plastic, and then a hand. Tina Satchwell had never left the house. She had been there all along, hidden in the one place no one thought to look twice. Her body was wrapped in plastic sheeting, her face littered with shards of broken glass. She wore only her dressing gown. 6 years buried in silence. The autopsy couldn't determine cause of death. Too much time had passed, but what was clear was that someone had put her there, and they had done it with intention. News broke across the country like thunder. People who had lit candles for Tina, prayed for her safe return, suddenly had a very different kind of vigil, a vigil for justice. Richard Satchwell was arrested the next day. Chapter 9, The Courtroom and the Lie, 33:00, 36:00. When Richard finally stood trial in April 2025, the courtroom was packed. He had always said he'd plead guilty before airing his marriage in public. But when the moment came, he pleaded not guilty. His new version of events? Tina attacked him with a chisel. He claimed she'd been scraping plasterboard, that she came at him screaming, the chisel raised, that he tripped, fell, that she landed on top of him, trying to stab him. In his panic, he said he grabbed the belt of her dressing gown and pulled. She stopped moving just like that. He didn't call for help. He didn't scream or run. Instead, he held her for hours, then moved her to the couch, sat with her, thought about dressing her in something beautiful, changed his mind, put her in the freezer, and 4 days later, buried her under the stairs. It was too much. Even the detectives didn't buy it. They pressed him. Why didn't you call anyone? Why tell people she ran away? He said he panicked, that he knew people would blame him, that he was grieving, that he was confused, but the timeline didn't fit. The email to the monkey rescue, sent after her death. The visit to Tina's relatives, a performance. The donation of their chest freezer, a way to cover up the evidence. It was not an accident, the prosecution said. It was a cold, calculated murder. They painted a picture of a man obsessed with control, obsessed with image, obsessed with a woman who may have finally been ready to walk away, and he couldn't let her go. Over 50 witnesses testified. The trial lasted 5 weeks. 7 women and 5 men sat on the jury. Their task was monumental to decide if this was self-defense or premeditated murder. They heard Tina's sister describe Richard as obsessed. They heard about the suspicious finances, the emails, the elaborate web he'd spun, and they saw what was left of Tina Satchwell, buried in the house she once called home, stripped of dignity, silenced beneath the man who once promised to love her forever. In the end, only one story made sense. Only one truth rose from beneath the stairs. The jury found Richard Satchwell guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. Tina Satchwell didn't just vanish. She was taken. Her life, filled with color, laughter, love for animals, a sparkle for fashion, was stolen and hidden beneath lies. Her voice muted, her body buried, her memory manipulated But now we remember her on her own terms, not as a victim, but as a woman whose story mattered, whose life had meaning, whose truth finally came to light. So for Tina, we tell her story and we say her name. Tina Satchwell, host, final words. Thank you for watching. If this case impacted you, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps this channel reach more people and gives voice to the voiceless.